Today we take a look at percent markup. So useful real world skills. Store owners all the time have to make decisions about what are they going to sell this product for. It costs them a certain amount to get it from the manufacturer, and then they want to make a profit on it. So they have to decide how much more are they going to charge the people who come in the store or who buy it from them online than they had to pay to get it themselves. That much makes sense to everybody? If you go and buy something and you're running a store, you don't want to sell it for exactly what you had to pay for it. You want to make some money. You want some extra when you turn around and sell it. And usually because the store owners buy in bulk, that's why it's fair for them. They get the discount because they buy a whole bunch, but when I go in, I only want one of them. And so that's kind of part of where it comes into play. So for all of these, we're thinking about from the perspective of the store owner. The price that the store owner sells it is going to be whatever the store owner purchased it for, plus some extra. And the extra is called the markup. That's used to pay the employees, to pay the heating and electric, to pay to rent the building, and to have some profit for the store owner himself or herself. Synonyms that you need to make sure you know: selling price is also called retail price. Some problems will say selling price, some will say retail. Purchase price may be the cost. What did it cost the store owner to get that? It may also be wholesale. So 3 possible words for that one. And it is always purchase price plus markup is selling price. P plus M is S when we start doing these in the ratio boxes. So you may be remembering seeing some of these last year. So I usually do these with a ratio box, but I'll try to model on at least some of these a couple of ways you could look at it. So we're going to have a row for P plus M is always going to be the selling price. Now, what is tricky is you have to find the word of. The markup could be a percent of what the store owner had to pay, or it could be a percent of what the buyer is going to have to turn around and pay. Of something, that's the one that gets the 100% on it, whichever one has the of. So in this case, this is going to be the 100. The markup is going to be 20%. So if P plus M is S, what do I put for the percent for S, everybody? 120. Then I have some actual values. The selling price was 84. So we want to know both things. We have to do 2 steps on this problem. We want to know the purchase price, so we put a variable in there. Right now, we can ignore the middle row, and we can say 100 over 120 is X over 84, and this is where you guys got to do the work for me. So X is going to be multiply both sides by 84, whatever 100 times 84 over 120 is. Could do some of that simplifying and figuring out by hand. Do you guys have it punched in already? Summer. Is that what you got, Ricky? Your head was also up. So 70, and thank you for remembering to label that in dollars. And then I need words to label what's what. So $70 purchase price. And not just a P equals, I want actual English words. Yes. Yes, it's a little clearer to label it with the same words as in the problem, but it would be synonymous. Evelyn? I'm going to get to a second way in a few minutes. I want to finish it with the ratio box first. Okay, then to get the markup, different variable. Now I'm going to use the bottom 2 rows. 20 over 120 is Y over 84. Multiply both sides by 84. And y is 84 times 20 over 120. And help me out with what we end up getting for that. You could do that with or without the calculator. Jonas, what'd you get? Anybody else getting 14? And this one was the markup. Uh, if you use the dollar sign, it better be on the left. If you put it on the right, you've got to write up the word dollars. Okay, the other way that we could do these is we can set them up with the formula P plus M equals S. And so we could say that we have the purchase price plus the markup was 20% of the purchase price. So 20% is 0.20. Of means times the purchase price is the selling price, and we know the selling price was 84. Combine your like terms, 1.2p is 84, divide both sides by 1.2, and you would get the same thing for p, that it was $70 for your purchase price. And similarly to get the market. So Evelyn, does that answer your question? Yes, you can set it up that way if you prefer. Questions with number one? Okay, number two, we have that the sedan retailed for $16,295. What was the purchase price if the car had been marked up 25% of the purchase price? This one I'll do the ratio box as the second way. So let's start off with P plus M is S. Retail. What did we say that was? Was that the P or the M or the S, Ted? It's the S. It's what are we selling it to the public for? So we've got 16,295 out here. And the markup is 25% of the purchase price. So it's 0.25 times the purchase price. So we have 1.25 times the purchase price is 16,295. Divide both sides by 1.25. And let me know what you guys have come up with on that for what the dealer had to pay to the big car manufacturer to get that. Ricky? 13,000? I shouldn't hear through the mask. 13,000? Okay. So 13,000, $36 purchase price. Does that make sense? If you preferred to do these with a ratio box, P plus M is always going to be S. So we know retail, again, is the selling price, $16,295. We want to know what was the purchase price. The markup was 25% of purchase. So we have to put 100 on the purchase, and then 25, and then 125, top and bottom rows, 100 over 125 equals X over 16,295. And if we multiply both sides by the 16,295, we end up with the same answer. Yes, Jonas? Probably not. I don't think we have, I don't recall any that say, do this with a ratio box, do this with just an equation. I don't recall ever seeing any of that in any of the directions. But it's good to know both ways, because sometimes one of them just, the way it's worded is kind of strange, and sometimes one way clicks a little better in my brain anyway than the other way does. So I'd like you to know how to do both ways and be comfortable with both ways. Okay, two more examples. Purchase price was $1,400. Markup was 30% of the selling price. I'll go back to ratio box first on this one. Why not? So P plus M equals S. And purchase price was actually 1400. We need to find the selling price. Okay, we've got to be careful. The markup was 30%, but it was 30% of the selling price this time. So of the 100%, the 100 has to go down here on the selling price. So what percent do I need on that top row? I've got to have a 70 on that one. And then I could go across, or I could just say 70 over 100 is 1400 over X. Switch out that diagonal, and I have X over 100 is 1400 over 70. Multiply both sides by 100. Simplify that whatever way you like. 20 times 100 is going to give us 2,000. It is dollars, and that is the selling price. We can also do that with the equation. So we'll do that next. If we do it as an equation, we start off with P plus M equals S. We look at the words up here. The purchase price was 1400. The markup was 30%, so 0.30 of the selling, so times the selling. Then if I subtract 0.3s from both sides, 1 minus 0.3 is 0.7. And if I divide both sides by 0.7, once again, I get the $2,000 for the selling price. Thumbs up, thumbs down on that one. Okay, last one's a little bit different in what they ask us to find. They ask us to find the percent for the markup. And then they actually ask us to do it two different ways. So the cost, so P plus M equals S. I'm going to do my actuals here, I think. Just switch my left and right columns. The cost was 1400. Is that P or M or S? When it says cost. That's P because that's the dealer cost. So 1400. The markup was 700 over what it had cost. So that means the selling price was how much? $2,100. Now we want to know the markup percent. So this column is now going to be my percents. First, I'm going to put a variable in there because I'm trying to find the markup percent of the selling price. So that means I need to put 100 on the selling price row. And then I solve that, and I have 700 over 2,100 is X over 100. Multiply both sides by 100. And let's see, that's a third. So 33.33333. And that is my percent of the selling price. So I go in and I'm buying that, and I know that the dealer's profit is 33.333% of whatever I'm paying when I buy it. A third of what I pay goes to the dealer. The other 2/3 went to whoever the dealer or the store owner got it from. Does that make sense for that one? The other one then asks, and we're still doing percent, but this time it wants to know a percent for the markup. So we're going to do a different letter, but still for the markup. And now it's a percentage of the cost. So I need to put my 100 up here. So for this one, I'm going to use the top row, the first and last columns, and the middle row, the first and the last columns. So 1400 over 700 is 100 over y. That I can simplify right away. It's just 2. Multiply both sides by y, and I have 2y is 100. So y is what? 50% markup of the cost. So the dealer pays something to buy it, or the store owner, whatever you want to call them, and then they increase that price by 50% of whatever they had to pay, and that's what they write on the price tag when they put it out in the store for me to consider buying. Questions from anybody? All right, we have 15 more minutes, so yes, we can get started on our homework here.